So before we start, I would like to read the quote from today, December 1st, because by Srila Prabhupada, because of we drink cow's milk, we should accept the cow as our mother. That is etiquette. Later to Nayan Biram, December 1st, 1971. So today we are so fortunate to have Her Grace Shri Kirtida Sundari Mataji on the topic of Shri Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda, chapter 14, verses 104. Continue. Sorry.
No, Mataji, you are right.
Onwards, 104 onwards.
Yes, because I don't know how many verses we will be able to cover. So,
Yeah.
okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Yashomati Mataji, for your very, very sweet and warm welcome. And thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us, for sharing your wonderful time with us. And this time is the one which is replenished, right? You cannot take it back. But you have suggested, you have, think of sharing your valuable time with all of us and showing interest in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, so which is really appreciable and very, very grateful to each and every one of you. So thank you so much for joining. So let's get started, and then we'll go for the invocation prayers first, and then we'll start our Chaitanya Bhagavat session. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchatattvatakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavtaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tadbhaktāya Namo Namaha Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivya Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahakrishna Prema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadhatau sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayatakshav Vishwambarau Dujavarau Yugadharmapalau Vande Jagatpriyakarau Karunavatarau Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Jayati Jayati Kirti Stasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhritya Stasva Vishveshva Murte Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Mukum Karoti Vachalum Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripahatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So Thank you once again for your wonderful association. And today's subject matter is really a little bit of philosophical, but I really don't know how to dive deep into such kind of philosophies. So we'll try to make it very, very simple because I myself has not able to digest it. So when I'm not able to digest, so how can I tell you the sweetness of that philosophy? But as a layman understanding what I understood, I'll just try to share. And of course, for that also, I need all your blessings, your prayers, so that I can speak something relevant to the subject matter. In purification of myself and glorification of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vanchakalpatarupishta kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Hare Krishna. So we are in the context, we are in actually the chapter 14 of Adi Khanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat, where it's described about the travel of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to West Bengal, to East Bengal, and then the disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. So we have discussed in detail by various speakers that how Mahaprabhu, he went to Bengal, to Bangladesh, and then he was still showing his scholastic pastimes. He taught thousands and thousands of children, of students there, because he was very good in grammar and he was a Sanskrit scholar, and he taught many students. And it's been explained by Vrindavan Das Thakur that those students, because the teacher was good, so they were able to understand and grasp everything within few months, within a matter of few months. Otherwise, it takes minimum 12 years to understand Sanskrit grammar. But it was the potency of the Supreme Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who taught his students everything within a matter of few weeks. And then Vrindavan Das Thakur described that how Lakshmi Priya Devi, who was with Mother Sachi in Navadvip, she was as an ideal daughter-in-law, as an ideal housewife, how beautifully she was serving Mother Sachi in absence of Mahaprabhu. And the whole day she was working as a perfect, ideal housewife. But in night she used to cry in separation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in separation of her master. She used to cry. And Vrindavan Das Thakur describes that, she would just take some rice, and that too for namesake, because she was deeply distressed in separation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And whole night she will cry incessantly, and she'll not get a relief even for a moment. But those emotions, those sentiments that used to come in night would not affect in any way in her service to her mother-in-law, to Mother Sachi, and in her service as being a housewife. The whole day she would not let a single emotion to come, to become an impediment in her service. No, that's how we all should be. Yes, emotions do come, but let those emotions don't make us weak in any of our service. That lamentation sometimes do come, that hankering comes, but our service should not stop. No excuse for service, no excuse for service of the divine couple, whether it's doing service in the temple, whether it's service to our chanting, service to our own sadhana. Everything has to be pakka. And that's what Lakshmi Priya teaches us. Her heart was filled with great distress and separation of Nimai, but still She will not let those emotions come and become an impediment in her service to her mother and to the home. But eventually, it was very difficult for Lakshmi Priya Devi to tolerate that separation from the Lord. And the time came when she desired to join with the Lord eternally in her eternal abode with her eternal master. So now Vrindavan Das Thakur will describe how Mother Lakshmi Priya, she leaves her divine body. So I like to share the verse. This is text number 104. Hope you all can see the verse. This is text number 104. Nija pratikriti deha thui prithvi te chali lena prabhu pashe ati alakshite. Nija pratikriti deha. So how beautifully Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, Nija, her own, Lakshmi Priya Devi, her own pratikriti deha, her own replica. It's a prakriti deha that she has. She left it on the prithvi, where? On the bank of the Ganges. And then, Chalilina Prabhu Pashe Ati Alikshite. Alikshite means in an invisible form. Invisibly, what she did, Chalilina Prabhu Pashe. She went, apne Prabhu ke paas. She went to her master, to her Mahaprabhu, to Nimai. Nija pratikriti deha thui prithvi te chali lena prabhu pashe adiya lakshite. Lakshmi Devi, she left a replica body on the banks of the Ganges in this world and went invisibly to the side of the Lord. Now, this verse, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, he writes 22 pages of purport. Practically in the entire Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, this is the longest purport. I have not read the entire Chaitanya Bhagavat, but what I feel that this must have been the longest purport which is written by Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in establishing the point that how Lakshmi Devi, she left her replica body on the bank of the Ganges. How there is no difference between the Lord's body and the Lord's soul. Everything is one. Nama Chintamani Krishna. What is that verse? I'm forgetting. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Nam Namino. There is no difference. Abhinnatvam Nam Namino. There is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's guna, Krishna's leela. There is practically no difference. It's all one and the same. Those who think that the soul of Lord Shri Krishna or the soul of Lakshmi Devi is different from the body of Lakshmi Devi, actually they are the great offenders. We should not think like that. And just to establish this one single point, that how she, her being Sakshat Lakshmi Devi, she left her body and that body was finally cremated by the Navadvipasis. The last rites were performed. But Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur doesn't want to move forward before explaining this great philosophy of who Mother Lakshmi Priya was and how we have to see her in connection of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So he wrote very elaborate purport to it, quoting from various scriptures from Shat Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami, from Mahabharata, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Sridhar Swami. Practically, he left no stone unturned in explaining that how the Supreme Lord is Satchit Ananda, and how we, being the conditioned souls, become bewildered. We get bewildered of understanding that how when Krishna comes and performs his human-like pastimes, his Narvat Leela, he is not a human being. He just performs his human-like pastimes. But we are so bewildered in our own conditions. And Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur wants to reveal this by removing that curtain from all of us, so that we come on to the right understanding that how the Lord and his Parshads, they are, when they come in this material world, they come for a specific purpose. Their body is not the body of a mere mortal souls like you and me. Their purpose is highly different. They are not forced to come. They come with their own sweet will. They wind up their pastimes. They fulfill the purpose of their coming, and they go back to their spiritual world. So, explaining these 22 pages of purport in a span of an hour is definitely not possible for a person like me, where I have really no understanding of all those Shat Sandarbhas, the commentaries of Srila Siddha Swami on Srimad Bhagavatam. I have not read verse by verse commentary. And definitely it's not my cup of herbal tea, I should say, where I can explain you the purport completely. But as a layman, just grasping the gist of what it is and whatever the 2 cents of philosophy I understood, would like to share. But again, would like to give a disclaimer that I really have no adhikar on speaking on such philosophy, because I have not read in all these scriptures. But I'll highly recommend all of you, if you are really interested, then you should go ahead with these pages of Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. You know, he has written that purport. Just go through them. And if you have any doubt, you can approach Preeti Vilasni Mataji, myself, or any of our coordinators, Indulekha Karuna Mataji. And we can divert you. We can take you to the source. We can take you to His Grace Hari Parshad Prabhu, or you can directly reach out to him if you have any doubt related to the purport, because I will not be able to explain it in full detail, but we'll try to explain. So Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in this purport, he writes about, first of all, that how when Lakshmi Priya Devi, she left her replica body on the bank of the Ganges, he explained that who is actually Lakshmi Priya. She is the internal potency of Gaur Narayan. That's what Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur explains. She is the Mahalakshmi. So we have, that there is a spiritual world, which is Golok Vrindavan. But then we have Dwarka Dham, we have Mathura Dham, we have Jagannath Puri Dham, Purushottam Kshetra. Then we have Vaikuntha, where the presiding deity is Lakshmi Narayan. So this Lakshmi Devi is non-different from Lakshmi, who is serving Narayan in Vaikuntha. She is the one who came as Janaki, as Mother Sita. She is the one who came as Rukmini. She is the one who has now appeared as Lakshmi Priya in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So she is non-different. She has personally incarnated in this world for the purpose to assist in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She is not the mere mortal soul like us who is being forced to take birth and have no purpose altogether. She is not one of us. She has personally incarnated in this world to assist in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur describes that actually we all know that Lord has two energies. One is his Yoga Maya Shakti, his internal potency, also known as Antaranga Shakti. And the Lord has another Shakti that is external potency, which is Mahamaya, also known as Bahiranga Shakti. We all know this, right? Now, this Bahiranga Shakti is also known as the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord. Now, why she is known as illusionary? Is she into illusion? Is she illusory? She is not fact. She is not real. No, that's not the right understanding. She is known as illusory external energy. First of all, external energy. So internal and external, Antaranga and Bahiranga. So internal is that takes care of the internal part of the Supreme Lord, like the spiritual world, right? External is when she comes out from the spiritual world and she becomes Mahamaya. Right? They all are the expansions of Srimati Radharani. We have to understand this. So she is Bahiranga Maya Shakti is external and is also known as illusory. She herself is not into illusion. It's not that there is some illusory energy. No, we don't have to understand in that way. She is Krishna's energy. Anything related to Krishna cannot be illusion. She herself is not into any kind of illusion of her job, of her work, of her service to Lord Shri Krishna. And she is also not illusory, but she is known as illusory because she puts the conditioned souls into illusion. And that illusion are of various types. The first illusion is when we understand that I am the proprietor, I am the master, I am the controller. She puts on that Maya Devi, she puts us into such kind of illusion where we recognize ourselves with so-called designations, where we become Ishwaras to an extent where we want to control everybody. We become control freaks. This is a kind of illusion that she puts us into. The second level of illusion is when she makes us understand that we are happy in this world. This world is temporary, but we are happy. We are happy, that means when we become happy, we become complacent, right? We don't endeavor much into our spiritual life because we think we are happy. Everything is going good. No, this is Maya. So this is also a kind of illusion because Bhagavad Gita says that this place is Dukhalayam and it is Ashashvatam. It is not Shashvat, it is Ashashvat and it is Dukhalaya. Alya means place. Like we have Vidyalaya, where Vidya is there, where knowledge is distributed. That is known as Vidyalaya. Pustakalaya, library, where the books are kept. Similarly, this place is Dukhalaya. How can we experience happiness? Even if we are experiencing that happiness, we should understand that that happiness is flickering, that happiness is temporary. It will come and it will go. But what is constant in this world is dukh, is miseries. It will come. And we know the three types of miseries, tapa, trayon, molanam, right? The miseries, adi daivik, adi bhautik, adhyatmik, different type of miseries. So this is Maya. She puts us into illusion that we are happy in this world. we become complacent in our life. Another level of illusion she puts us into is that this water of Ganga, has this water really washed the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna? We have a doubt. She puts us into a doubt, into a samshaya, where we doubt the water of Ganges, where we doubt the potency of our own spiritual master and consider him as an ordinary human being. And to an extent, we start doubting even Lord Shri Krishna. We doubt the Supreme Lord and his consort when they come and they do their Narvat Leela, the human-like pastime, and we started taking them as mere mortal souls or as an ordinary human being. So these are the different ways where this Bahiranga Shakti illusions us, keeps us into illusion, and takes us away from Krishna. Now, Maya has no enmity with us. She has no animosity with us, where she doesn't want to take us to Krishna. She is assigned that particular job by Lord Shri Krishna himself. Krishna doesn't want that everybody can approach him. In one sense, yes, Krishna wants everybody, but only out of love, not out of mere fear or duty, but out of love he wants that we all should approach him. But if we don't want to approach him out of love, then this Maya keeps us away from Krishna, keeps us entangled in this world, so that we don't come close to Krishna. But this Maya is definitely Krishna's Maya. Krishna says, Daivi Esha Gunam Mama Maya Durattaya. Krishna says this divine, this energy, though it is Bahiranga Shakti, though it's Maya Devi, but it is divine. Don't consider Maya also to be conditioned. She is not. Something which is related to Krishna, how can that be conditioned? So she is divine, she is Daivi, she is Gunamai, she has those three modes in which she binds us. And Krishna doesn't stop there. He says, Mama Maya, she is my Maya. How proudly Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, she is my Maya. And then he says, Durattaya, it's very difficult to cross over. Very, very difficult. Because she puts us into illusion. So we have to understand that this Maya, this is Bahiranga Maya Shakti, is illusory external energy because she puts us into illusion. But then there is another Swarup Shakti. This is all we talked about, the Bahiranga Shakti. Now we are talking about the Antaranga Shakti. In Antaranga Shakti, that is Krishna's Yogamaya Shakti, that manifests when Krishna wants to enjoy his pastimes. Right? So Swarup Shakti is Krishna's Shakti, and she is never ever separated from Krishna. This Maya is never united with Krishna. Krishna, though he says Mama Maya, but still he doesn't interact with that Maya. Right? Whereas the Swarup Shakti is Krishna's eternal Shakti. Krishna is never separated from Yoga Maya. Wherever Krishna is there, she is present. And she is present in her Swarup Shakti. When Krishna appears as a demigod, sometimes we have seen from Srimad Bhagavatam that in some Manvantara, where Krishna doesn't find an eligible candidate to become a demigod, he himself becomes the demigod. So when Lord appears as a demigod, she, that Swarup Shakti of Lord, takes the form of a demigoddess. When he appears as a human being to perform his Narvat Leela, human-like pastimes, she takes a human-like form. And when Krishna appears in any form whatsoever, she always accompanies Krishna. She always accompanies the Lord, corresponding to that form of Lord Vishnu, in order to assist in his pastimes. So this has to be made very, very crystal clear that this Swarup Shakti of Krishna is always with Krishna whenever Krishna performs any of his pastimes. So actually, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur writes that what is Swarup Shakti and what is Lord? Then he says, one is Shakti, another is Shaktiman. So there is no difference between energy and the energetic. This, out of this supreme will, they come, they appear in a different way. Like Caitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also writes, Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shaktiman, Dui Vastu Bhed Nahi Shastrera Praman. That Radha, Srimati Radharani, is Purna Shakti and Krishna is Purna Shaktiman. One is energy, another is energetic. And there is practically no difference between both of them. Right? Dui Vastu means between energy and energetic, between Radha and Krishna. Dui Vastu Bhed Nahi, they both are one. They both are one. Energetic, energy cannot be separated from energetic. Energy is actually energetic who possesses that energy, and that's why he is known as energetic. I hope you're getting my point. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur writes that Krishna, he being the Supreme Lord, is because of his Swarup Shakti. Right? Person may be called as energetic only when he possesses energy. Right? So Krishna, he is Shaktiman. Why he is Shaktiman? Because he has that Shakti. Right? So there is no actual difference between the two. Dui vastu bhed nahi shastrera praman. Our scriptures vividly describes, profusely describe this, that actually there is no difference. But still we see that Lakshmi Priya was there with Mother Sachi and Mahaprabhu was there in East Bengal and doing his pastimes, his scholastic pastimes. Yes, but they come in different forms to enhance the Leela. There is no difference, but they come in different forms. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes that Radha Krishna ek Atma, dui dehadhari. Radha and Krishna, there is one Atma. We know that from Krishna's left-hand side, Radharani manifested. From Krishna's right-hand side, Lord Balaram manifested. Right? So there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. There is no difference between Radha and Krishna. Ek Atma, dui dehadhari. But they come, they appear, they manifest into two different bodies. For what? Anyona vilasa rase aswadana kari. Anyona means among themselves. They want to do some ras, some vilasa ras, means to enjoy some pastimes. Aswadam, to taste those pastimes. The one becomes two. Right? So that one, the main Shaktiman, he removes his Shakti from himself. Right? So the Shakti takes another roop. Though that Shakti is ek Atma, but dui dehadhari, they become two. Anyona vilasa rasa aswadana kari, just to taste the pastimes. Right? We know this. So coming back to our what Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur write, that actually there is no difference between energy and energetic. Our scriptures, we can understand that how Vishnu is always related to his Swarup Shakti, and they are not different. Right? So everything related to the Supreme Lord, beginning with his body, is actually everlasting and it's eternal. Right? It is never born out of matter. Nothing is material which is related to the Supreme Lord, as per his own body also, and as per his different parshads also. So when Krishna's parshad also comes and performs and assists in Krishna's pastimes, we have to understand that they are also devoid of material things. They are also pure. They are also Satchit Ananda. There is no difference between body and soul of the Supreme Lord. So when we hear such statements that Lord Vishnu has accepted some body, we have to just understand the example of a spider, that how a spider through his own saliva will make a cobweb, will enter into that cobweb, and finally will annihilate that cobweb and will be gone. Right? Or another example that Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur gives is a perfect actor. Actor himself has his own individuality, but when he comes on the reel, when he comes on stage, he performs certain activities, but that doesn't mean that those activity becomes the intrinsic nature of that actor. After all, he is an actor. He can act, right? Similarly, just like an actor acts in a drama, Krishna, when he comes in the material world, along with his parshad, along with his shakti, they are just performing a drama. So that we have to understand. Now, because we are discussing about the last pastime of Lakshmi Priya, that how she left her body, and it's very difficult to understand that she left her replica body. So we'll discuss this little bit more. And I'll share a screen where Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur only writes, if this is the right screen. Yes. So this is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, verse 8, where Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking, Api Devarshina sa kaloyam upastita yadatmangam akridam bhagavan uchishkarshati. What he's saying that, is he going to quit his earthly pastimes as Devarshi Narada indicated? Has that time already arrived? So we know that how Arjun, when he went to Dwarka, he came to know that all Yadus are gone, Krishna has gone. But when he came back, he was not able to speak. He was speechless. And at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj was perplexed. He was bewildered. And he was asking that, has the time arrived? Has the time has come when the Supreme Lord is ready to quit his earthly pastimes? So here the word Angam, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in the purport writes this word Angam. Angam means limbs, the body. So does it mean that Yudhishthira Maharaj was saying that Krishna has left his body? No. Because Krishna's body is non-different from Krishna. So how can Krishna leave his body? So here Angam, he says, plenary portion. Prabhupada translates as plenary portion. But our Jiva Goswami, in his, not Jiva Goswami, I think so, Sridhar Swami, he writes that actually Anga means to give up the drama or his earthly pastimes. Actually, another meaning of Anga is also earth. So giving up his earthly pastimes, right? Or giving up the drama of his human-like pastimes that he was performing. So that's the real meaning. So there also, it's not that Yudhishthir Maharaj doesn't know about it, but Yudhishthir Maharaj is also saying, Angam Akridam means is he ready? Has the time come where Krishna is leaving his earthly pastimes? So you see the difference? That Krishna manifests and he unmanifests. Krishna appears and he disappears. Right? It's never said Krishna takes birth. No. Krishna appears and he disappears. So the purport of this entire thing is that Lord accepts a form and he gives up that form. He manifests and he unmanifests. He simply makes a show of giving up his body. But actually, he's not giving up his body because he's non-different. He simply imitate giving up the body like we normal human beings. But actually, he is not doing so. Why? Because his form is transcendental. And there is no possibility for his body being destroyed. So similarly, when we see Lakshmi Priya leaving her body on the banks of river Ganga, apparently looks like the snake has bitten and she left her body. There has to become some cause, right? Like in Moshla Leela of Krishna also, we see that there was a hunter, right? And that hunter becomes the medium, the instrument for Lord Shri Krishna to wind up his pastimes, earthly pastimes, and go back to his eternal abode. So through the eyes of people, it looks like Krishna has left his body. Krishna gave up his body, but that's not right. Krishna has winded up his pastimes, right? Has winded up his pastimes and go back to his eternal abode. So we saw that how when Arjuna was in Dwarka, he actually cremated the body of Krishna. Krishna left his body there. But in factual, we have to understand. If we try to understand that Krishna also left his body just by one arrow and, he was dead, then we are in Maya. We have to understand that Krishna, some medium has to be done. Why? Because he was doing that human-like pastimes. So when you are in that Narvat Leela, when you are doing human-like pastimes, you have to act like a human, just like an actor. If a very good actor is acting like a villain in some movie, he has to be a perfect villain to an extent that the people who are watching that movie should try to hate him, right? So that is known as the perfect actor. Similarly, Krishna, he gave up his body, but in the sense that has to be understood only through the eyes of the materialistic people. But for the devotees, we have to understand that he winded up his pastimes, his earthly pastimes, and he went back to his eternal abode. So there also, in that Maushala Parva, that Leela that was described in Mahabharata. Actually, I can share another verse with you all. There also actually it is described, Swabimbam. Krishna left his replica body that Arjun cremated. But otherwise, his body is Satchidananda, and he went with his body. Now, it's difficult to understand, but if we try to understand through a devotional aspect, then we'll be able to. But if we try to analyze like a materialistic person, then it will be very difficult to understand. So we have to understand with a devotee perception that, yes, Krishna left his replica body that Arjuna cremated, but at the same time, Krishna went back to his abode. In the same body, he went back. Why? Because Krishna is non-different from his body. To understand this further, I'll share you one more screen, and then we'll see how it is. This is from 11th canto, chapter number 30, verse number 40. Iti adishta bhagavata krishnecha sharirina trih parikramya tam natva vimanena devam yayo. So what he says, as instructed by the Supreme Lord Krishna, Krishna ke aadesh se, adishto, as Krishna has given his instruction to that hunter, Krishna Ichha Sharirena. Krishna gave up that body. Which body? Which was Ichha Sharirena, which he simply manifested by his own supreme sweet will. Got it? So Krishna manifested his body by his own sweet will. So he gave up that body. And then he went back to his eternal abode with the same body. Why? Because Krishna is non-different from his body. It's Satchidananda, right? And then it's been mentioned that how the hunter also departed in an airplane. That's a different thing. But the important point is Krishna Ichchena Sharirena. So this is very, very important, right? So hunter was instructed by the Supreme Lord Krishna, who assumes this transcendental body by his own sweet will. And Jiva Goswami, in his Krama Sandarbha, he writes, that Ichha Sharirena actually means that body is manifested simply by his own Ichha, by his own supreme sweet will. So we have to understand that his appearance and his disappearance are manifested by his Shakti, by his inconceivable supreme will. There is no other need for extra reasoning to put forward into this subject matter. This is a plain thing, understandable, that this is Krishna's Achintya Shakti, that he manifests simply by his own supreme will, and then he wind up his pastimes and go back to his spiritual world, to his own abode. So this Ichha Shariri means taking the body according to one's own desire. This only Krishna can do, or Krishna's Parshads can do, not a mere mortal soul like us. We conditioned souls do not have that adhikar to do it, right? So it is Swechha Prakash, means it manifests by Krishna's own will. He's desired that body by his own will, whether he comes as Matsya, whether he comes as Kurma, whether he comes as a dwarf Brahmana, whether he comes as Lord Nrsingadev. It is Swa Ichha Prakash. It is by his own supreme sweet will. Comes, performs the pastimes, solves the purpose, wind up his pastimes, go back. Right? So this is what we have to understand. So he doesn't take birth like us conditioned souls, but we foolish people are bewildered by his illusory energy only. And we consider that him as died, the word died, which is normally used for the jivas, we use it for Krishna, that dead or died or Lakshmi Priya died. No, she didn't die. That is a materialistic understanding. She winded her pastimes. She is deathless. She is Lakshmi herself, who is serving Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. So she came for a purpose. She did certain pastimes. She winded up, set an example, and finally winded up her pastimes and went back. So they accept Lord Krishna or his Pashas, they accept a material body in order so that sinful people gets bewildered. Actually, this is also one of the reasons, right? They perform that human-like pastimes. When Krishna was present, people like Duryodhan were not able to understand Krishna's power or Krishna's potency. He was still thinking him as an ordinary mere mortal soul. Right? So just to bewilder him, they perform these pastimes, but actually it is not. Krishna's body is Satchidananda. It's not made up of bone, blood, flesh, no. But still, for Asvadanakari, Krishna was bleeding in the war of Kurukshetra by the arrows of Bhishma Dev. Nityananda depicted that, that bleeding, that blood was coming out from his forehead when Madai hit him with that pot. so that, Madai can be a recipient of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Otherwise, Mahaprabhu would have not shown, would not have come. But the moment Mahaprabhu came to know that Nityananda is bleeding, Mahaprabhu cannot take it. And so he came onto the scene. And finally, Madai got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was the agenda of Nityananda Prabhu. Otherwise, Krishna and his parshals, their body is not made up of bones, blood, flesh. No, they are made up of Satchit Ananda. They are Satchit Ananda, right? So this is all what, he was sharing. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur shared in the entire purport of 22 pages, mentioning or telling about various verses from various scriptures. But whatever the gist I got, I just shared with you all. So we'll move on further with our Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we'll see what happened next. So this is text 105. प्रभुपाद पद्मा लक्ष्मी धारिया हृदया ध्याने गंगा तीरे देवी करीला विजया. She thus took the lotus feet of the Lord in her heart and in deep meditation departed to the bank of river Ganges. So how beautifully she took the lotus feet of the Lord in her heart. Taking the lotus feet of the Lord in her heart means constantly remembering the Lord, right? She took the lotus feet of the Lord in her heart. This is also, as soon as I read this, immediately, what struck was the passing away of Haridas Thakur. In Chaitanya Charitamrita and Antya Leela, we covered that how beautifully when Haridas Thakur was onto the stage, where he was thinking that, now is the time where I also have to leave. There also it says that Haridas Thakur says, Swahridaya ani dharilana prabhura charana. So Swahridaya, he held the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his heart. Sarva Bhakta Pada Renu Mastaka Bhushana. And he ornamented his mastak, his forehead, by the Renu, by the dust of the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas there. So in this regard, in further, he says that Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shabda, Balena Bar Bar. And what he was speaking? Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Bole Bar Bar. He was just speaking. Prabhu Mukha Madhurya Piya Netra Jaladhar. And he was drinking the sweetness of the face of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, holding the lotus feet onto his chest, taking the dust of all the Vaishnava devotees and ornamenting his forehead with it, and drinking the sweetness of the face of the Lord, shedding tears of prema from his eyes. Finally, Haridas Thakur departed, right? So now when we see this pastime of Haridas Thakur, who was Haridas Thakur? He was Brahma, right? Lord Brahma came as Haridas Thakur. Now we know that Lord Brahma is in Dasya Bhav. He is in a Dasya Bhav. But see the magnanimity of Mahaprabhu, that he was allowed to associate with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who are the Manjaris in the spiritual world. So when Haridas Thakur was in Jagannath Puri, he was not going to Jagannath temple. He was not allowed. And externally, it looks like that when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami came to Jagannath Puri, they also, because they've been serving that Muslim Nawab, so they also, restrained themselves in entering Jagannath Puri temple, that Bhavan. and they were staying with Haridas Thakur. So externally looks like Haridas Thakur was giving shelter to Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, but that's not the case. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually did this entire pastime so that this Brahma from Vatsalya, from Dasya can come to that Madhurya. So see how sweet it is. So that he can get the association of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, who are the Manjaris in the spiritual world. And this Brahma can also elevate himself in his service, in his Nitya service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is how magnanimous Krishna is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Krishna also, the same line, actually sent Uddhav to have the association of gopis. Externally, it looks like Uddhav came to console those gopis, to provide some solace to the gopis. But later, after interacting with the gopis, and especially Srimati Radharani, Uddhava desired to become a Gumalata, to become a creeper in the land of Vrindavan, so that the gopis can walk over him and he can give some solace, because he is becoming such a soft creeper, so that the gopis' lotus feet doesn't get any hurt. So that's the position that Uddhava was later desiring, aspiring. So here also we should see our own selves, that when we, being in a conditioned state, we are so much conditioned, right? But still we can keep our aspirations higher. Aspiration to an extent where we can serve the divine couple by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, and our Guru Vargas. Though we know that we are in the conditioned state and it's not easy, this Maya is very strong, very, very strong, can catch up at any age, at any point of time. We may say we have been practicing Krishna consciousness for decades, but the fall down can happen at any time, any point of time. So we have to be really, really cautious. But at the same time, keep our aspirations higher by surrendering ourselves 100% onto the lotus feet of Gurudev, onto the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and aspire to do some Nikunja Seva of the divine couple of Shri Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna. We can desire that, right? In this regard, something that strikes me that I was hearing, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami Pada, I think so. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't want to say any name, but one of the Acharya was saying that normally the aspiration is that we want to go and serve Krishna, right? But I think so it's Raghunath Das Goswami only was saying that when that day will be mine, where I will be standing on the doors of that Nikunja, where Srimati Radharani, along with her Sakhis, is inside, and I'll be on the door, stopping Krishna not to enter and meet Srimati Radharani. How sweet it is, how sweet. So our Lakshmi Priya, she took the dust feet, lotus feet of the Lord in her heart, and in deep meditation departed to the bank of Ganges. We'll do the last two verses and then we'll stop. Ekhane sachira dukha na parikhaite, kashta dravya aira se krandana sunite, se sakala dukha rasa na parivarnite, ataeva kichu kahila na sutramate, sadhu gana suni bada haila dukha hita, Sabha ashi karya kari lena yathochita. Ekahane sachira dukkha. Now Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that our Sachi Mata was drowned in an ocean of grief. But I cannot describe, na parikahite, I cannot describe her distress, because she was so much grief stricken on the when Mother's Lakshmi Priya departed, that Vrindavan Das Thakur says that I have no adhikar of describing the grief of Mother Sachi. Why? Kashtha drave aira. Because even the woods, kashtha means wood. And when Prabhupada writes, Kasthera putali jatha nachao se mate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate. So kasthera, the wood, dravya, the stones, they could, krandana sunite, they were melting by hearing the weeping, the crying of Mother Sachi. So even the woods and the stones were melting. That means Mother Sachi was drowned in the ocean of distress. Sasakala dukha rasa aparivarnita, main varnan hi nahi kar sakta. Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, I cannot describe you the way Mother Sachi was drowned in an ocean of distress. Atava kichu khalina sutra mate. And therefore, in a sutra, what is the difference between a sutra and that elaborate commentaries, right? There is a Brahma Sutra, right? And there is a Vedanta Sutra. That means in some sutra, in some specific few words, the whole philosophy is described. But then our acharyas write commentaries on those sutras, and it becomes a whole voluminous book. But otherwise, it's just a sutra, which is in the condensed form, which contains the highest philosophy. So similarly, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that in just a sutra form, I have described the disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. So we see just in 3 or 4 verses, he described the disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. Ataiva kichu kailana sutra mate. Because I am unable to describe the entire pastimes, the emotions, the sentiments that Mother Lakshmi Priya was going through, or whether Mother Sachi was going through, it's impossible. I cannot describe. He's taking such a humble position. And so saying, it's in sutra mate, in just few verses, I have described. And then what happened? Sadhu guna suni bada. Haila Dukhita. So all the sadhus, means all the people of Navadvip, when they heard that how Mother Lakshmi, this Lakshmi Priya Devi, she left her body. Saba Aisha Karilan. Karya Karila Yathochita. They were crying at the same time. They duly performed her last rites. So they performed that last rites. Why? Because Lakshmi Priya left her replica body so that, because she was in that Narvat Leela. And finally, the last rites were performed. So we'll read the purport. Thinking about the vacant situation in the house of a jewel-like son, Sri Gaura Sundara. See how beautiful Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur is writing. Who was more dear than her own life. Sachi Devi merged in an ocean of indescribable misery and began to lament in pathetic words that melted even the stones. Dravya. Right? Meanwhile, being also afflicted with distress, the Navadvip Vasis were also afflicted with distress. But those Navadvip Vasis, those pious neighbors, they faithfully completed the disappearance festival of Lakshmi Priya Devi. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much for joining. I don't know whether I was able to do some justice to these verses, which I am sure that I have not. But my little 2 cents of realization that I had after reading this purport by Srila Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, I would just wanted to share that. But, if you still have anything, I'd really recommend that please go through the purport. And if you have anything regarding this which is not clear, then you can reach out to your seniors, to your Shiksha Gurus, to your Diksha Gurus, or we can connect you to Haripasha Prabhu. We can help you. Thank you all so much for your association. Vanchakalpatarivascha kripa sindhu vaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. I know this was hard, and we put you, we just put this on you and asked you to do it. But I still have a question. Please see if you can help me, because this has been disturbing me, not now, it has been disturbing me for a few years now. So the point that, the Lord comes in a transcendental body and he goes back in a transcendental body is very clear to me. But where does this thing come in where people talk about leaving, especially about, I'm not talking about Lakshmi Devi here per se in Chaitanya Bhagavat. And my question is from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna leaves a replica body. That is something that I don't see in the Bhagavatam verses, because Bhagavatam says that Krishna just ascends, right? When Dharma comes, there's nothing like that. And Arjuna burning the body, that is something that I don't understand. And secondly, leaving the replica body and all this, where is all this coming from, Mataji? I mean, I'm not able to believe this portion. That is my problem. I can't believe the other side of it. So is it present in Sridhara Swami's commentary, or, how did we come up with this? So that was my question, because in the Bhagavatam per se, it's not there. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur commentary was not there. So because I didn't read this purport, you only have to show me now.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing you. Even I was not aware of it. See, this is from Mahabharat, Maushula Parva. To the eyes of people, hope you are able to see.
Yes, Mataji.
After diminishing the burden of earth, Krishna gave up his form and returned to his supreme abode. In this verse, the word mochayitva, or having given up, indicate that he disassociated his form from the activities of diminishing the burden of earth. In other words, he allowed his form a respite from such engagement. This word is not used to indicate complete freedom from the activities of diminishing the burden of earth. This is from Krama Sandarbha. The word Swabimbam refers to the Satchidanandan form of the Lord and his replica. So he left his replica body. And the word tu corroborates the Vedic statement, Dvibada Brahmano Rupe. The Supreme Brahman has two forms. One form with which he went to his eternal abode, and the another form, the replica form that he left on this world. Hope that helps, Mataji.
And this Arjuna burning body,
That I really don't know whether, but I heard from his Grace Adi Gadadhar Prabhu recently in his one of our Bhakti Vaibhav session, he mentioned. I didn't ask for any reference, and frankly speaking, I just said what he narrated, that Arjuna had cremated the body of Krishna in Dwarka before coming back to Hastinapur to Yudhishthira Maharaj. That's what he said, so I'm just quoting his lines. And I really myself have no reference to it. But Krishna leaving his body is mentioned. That Swabimbam, he refers.
So it appears to be one of the commentaries, right? Because in many of the commentaries, they don't even talk about that, Krishna leaving back anything.
Yeah, so it is just one of the commentaries, that's it. And it looks like a bona fide commentary if Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur is quoting the purport of Chaitanya Bhagavat. It looks like a bona fide commentary. But again, the nutshell, the essence is that Krishna and his Parshads, they come for a purpose. They are such an Anand body, and they come for the purpose, and then they wind up their pastimes and they go back. Mere mortal souls may think, because people have really raised so many questions on this, that how could one hunter has this audacity of killing Krishna, But some cause has to come in. Just like Lakshmi Priya, she was bitten by the snake. But actually, Chaitanya Charitamrita also describes that she was not bitten by the snake of this world, but she was bitten by the snake of separation from Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. So these things, they often disturb me when someone says Krishna left. Why does he have to even leave a replica body, right? That's what I was thinking. I mean, we just take it as absolute. Krishna is absolute. He just goes back absolute. That's it. And Bhagavatam also just says he just ascended. It didn't say he left some
Bhagavatam doesn't describe, but
anything.
again, we have commentaries after commentaries.
Okay. Yes, Mataji. Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. It was a very heavy commentary, and thank you for extracting that out and letting us know. So at least we have an idea. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Grateful to you, Mataji, for taking up this verse. For us. Hare Krishna.
It was difficult because it was beyond my eligibility, beyond my adhikar.
Yes, no, Mataji. That's not the point, but yeah.
But I just,
Weird, yeah. It's strange. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you, Mataji.
thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Very, very nice class, but it was little hard to understand. And Mataji, I have a question. What you talk about the Brahmaji and Rup Manjari and Loving Manjari, Loving Manjari.
I was just telling the magnanimity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that how Mahaprabhu, Brahma, Lord Brahma, he came as Haridas Thakur, right? And how Brahma is always in dasatva. He is in dasya bhav. We know that Krishna, with Krishna, we can have various rasas, like Shanta rasa, dasya rasa, Sakhya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, and Madhurya rasa. So our Brahmaji is in the dasatva bhav, in dasya bhav, right? But how Mahaprabhu is so magnanimous that whosoever comes in contact of Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu wants to give him Krishna prem.
Yeah.
So even that Brahma who came as Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu made him associate with his manjaris, with the manjaris, like Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, so that he can also associate with them and come on to that conjugal level.
Now I got it, Mataji.
It was just the magnanimity of Mahaprabhu that I wanted. But it's not been mentioned in the purport, but because the topic came.
And one more thing, Mataji, about whatever you say, emotions to come, just like Lakshmi Priya, Mata, Mother Lakshmi Priya. She just got separation from the Mahaprabhu, but she was doing her all household duties without any emotion, without that anything, whatever she was feeling. But Mataji, sometimes I say that when we are not, our health is not good, or we hear from someone's health is not good, whoever the loved one or closer one. At that time, we do service, but it doesn't going like like our mind. Our mind is thinking something with that. So
Very
what
true,
happens?
because we are conditioned. The simple answer is because we are conditioned. We associate ourselves with our relatives, with our friends, with devotees. We associate ourselves. And in one sense, there is no harm because Jiva Daya is also important. Having some sentiments towards our loved ones, our dear ones, to our devotees. But at the same time, we have to understand that this lamentation is okay to an extent where the service is not hampered. Let me give the example of Arjun. Abhimanyu died. Arjun was in great lamentation. Though he heard Bhagavad Gita, right? He heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, that he was not a body, he was a mere mortal soul. Sorry, he was not a body, he was a soul, right? We are not the body, we are soul. He heard that. But still he lamented because the devotees are very, very compassionate in their heart. But that lamentation overpowered Arjun? No. Next day he was back in the battlefield of Kurukshetra with his bow and arrow. Right? So that's how these Arjun, this Lakshmi Priya, through them we can have this example. Yes, dukh will come, sorrows will come, but our service should not be stopped at any point of time. Any point of time. I'll give you the example. My Guru Maharaj left. which was a great distress. It was the heaviest I could bear. Heaviest I could bear. I had bear the separation of my father. My father died when I was not even married. But even that was nothing in compared to the separation from my Guru Maharaj. And it was too much. Early in the morning, Maharaj left. And next day morning, Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who was here in our temple, told me to dress the deities because I was scheduled to dress, but I don't want to dress because I said I cannot. Because my heart is not there. How can I? So I talked to him that, Maharaj, I'm not in a position. And Maharaj said, what is this? Your Guru Maharaj wanted this? No, this is the Nikunja Seva. How can you leave it? And next day I was on the altar. I cried on the altar while doing Arati, that Darshan Arati. It was very heavy for me, especially because next day Bir Krishna Goswami was singing Jayanilo Premadhana and I couldn't bear it. But he told me to be on the altar. I was perplexed. I was bewildered. I said, no, I cannot go on the altar because your mind has to be very focused when you are on the altar, especially when you are doing the dressing seva. And before day, you have to prepare garlands, head garlands. You have to really meditate on before you actually dress Radha and Krishna. So how that meditation can come when I'm so much overpowered with grief of separation from Guru Maharaj? It was unbearable. But with the help of Maharaj, Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he helped me. And he said, no, you have to be on the altar. And same thing happened, 2 years later, my mother-in-law passed away. And then also I asked him that, I cannot. And he said, this sutak, this patak doesn't work in Krishna consciousness. You are Krishna's devotee. Be a Krishna devotee. And the night I came to know, 9 o'clock, night time I came to know that my mother-in-law has left her body. And next day I was on the altar. Early 3 o'clock. He told me, he said, no, in Krishna consciousness, there is no karma. We are not karma kandis. Sutak, patak, kuch nahi hota. He said, ghar ke deities kabhi utni hi seva karo jitna temple deities. Don't stop worshipping temple at home. Don't stop that. Next day onwards, just rather intensify your prayers. Pray more. Do worship more. That's what is needed at this time of grief. Because people normally says, when such mishappenings happen, then 3 days or 5 days, you should do the altar. No, that's karma khanda. Once you have surrendered to Krishna, there is no space for karma khanda activities. So next day I was in the altar, in temple altar, because he told me that I give you all the permission. Go ahead and do your service. Service should not stop.
Nice, Mataji. Nice to know that all these things, Mataji. So I will try that thing too. Before I thought that, if someone pass away in our family, we should not touch the deity. That's what I was thinking, and I heard from beginning. So now I knew that Krishna conscious person, they have to do their duty. And
like literally I've been instructed कि तुम भूखे रहोगे क्या भगवान को भूखा रखोगे.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Why you have to close the altar? Close your mouth, close your stomach. Can you do that? No. Then why the Lord has to bear all this? Was he responsible in any way? No, he was not. He Swarat.
Yeah.
He was not responsible. So why he has to bear?
Yeah.
So we don't have to stop the worship. Once we have Archa Vigraha at our home, that's it. It's their home. The sons, it's their home. So the worship should not stop.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, so much. If anybody have any question?
I don't think so, Mataji. So
there is no question.
Stop here. Yeah, because
Yeah,
the
to
subject
stand our.
matter is really heavy. And
Yeah,
that too, our Lakshmi Priya has left her body. Our mother Sachi
yeah,
is crying profusely. So let's be in that mood and
yeah.
continue our Bhagavad, Chaitanya Bhagavad study tomorrow. So we'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, this was very nice and beautiful class for understanding, and we are very grateful to you. And we are all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We look forward to your association again in future. So, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Bhavebhyo Namo Namaha. श्री चैतन्य भागवत की
भागवत की
जय,
जय,
श्रील प्रभुपाद की
की जय,
जय, हर
श्री
ग्रेट
कीर्तिदा
कृष्णा सुंदरी
माता
देवी दासी
की
माता
जय।
जी की जय।
जय।
थैंक यू माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा।
जय।
Hare Krishna.
थैंक यू माता जी,
हरे
कोटि कोटि
कृष्णा
दंडवत
धन्यवाद
प्रणाम।
माता जी।
Ending the call, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mata.
हरे कृष्ण।